Just as Morehouse has taught you to expect more of yourselves, inspire those who look up to you to expect more of themselves. We know that too many young men in our community continue to make bad choices. And I have to say, growing up, I made quite a few myself. Sometimes I wrote off my own failings as just another example of the world trying to keep a black man down. I had a tendency sometimes to make excuses for me not doing the right thing. But one of the things that all of you have learned over the last 4 years is there's no longer any room for excuses.
I don't want to exempt my. I'll pay your taxes. Give me my money.
Man, that ain't no excuse if Negroes not paying our ass.
I will pay all the taxes everybody else pays. Give me my
I
money.
grew up in small business household.
I don't want you to give me no education.
You know what you got to do.
Give me my money.
You know you got to do. That ain't got.
On count of three, all of us gonna start clapping. 1, 2, 3. Let me welcome you officially to a conversation and a dialogue that is already underway. I am the pastor.
And the Professor G. Joyner.
Yeah, it's going down. This is, sadly, the season 2 finale. This is episode 10. So as you know, always meet us on Facebook, the pastor and the professor. Meet us on Ustream right now, live. Well, I guess if you're watching this, then we would have already done it. So you just gonna have to catch us on YouTube. Catch all of the links on YouTube.
Yeah.
But we excited about this. So we're going to introduce some of our special guests who are our brothers in their own right. And we're glad to have them. But as always, it's about to be some real talk, some real action. It's going to be real righteous.
Yes, sir. Righteous talk for real people. To my right, the infamous brother Jet Lucas. If you all saw him, if y'all seen him, if you all saw him, us on Black Thought last week on Channel 31 Comcast, you'd have seen that he's actually responsible for the first person to really get the passing professor out there on WRUG Media Group now, but it was WRUG Radio. Jet is really active in the community. He's a self-educated Negro. I believe you taught yourself how to read in a slave cabin. Is this true?
Real feel.
Is that what it is?
Well,
but it's a real thing. I believe it.
And look, as a matter of fact, we know that because he did the research and drew your name. This is a historian, a scholar in his own right and in his own way. This is Ronald M. Hurd. Is that correct?
MBA Hurd.
MBA Hurd.
Yeah, I just
or he goes by R2.
C2H2.
C2H2, and we are glad to have him. So y'all hear all
the
of these.
artivist.
The artivist is in the building. So all of these wonderful interviews that you have heard from the likes of the Dick Gregory's and I know the list could go on and on and on. Some of the work that has been done, some groundbreaking journalism work, going way back to what went down with Gina in Louisiana with the Gina 6 and others. We happy to have this brother. And my colleague, my partner, my clergy brother, this is a scholar pastor in his own right. This is the Reverend Dr. Noel Hutchison Jr., who is the proud pastor of the First Baptist Missionary Baptist Church on Lauderdale, across the street from BTW in South Memphis. Graduate of United Theological Seminary with his doctorate in ministry degree. Glad to have him. Brother used to let me come preach for him way back in the day. I guess
he didn't pay you?
Yeah, he paid me.
Okay.
Either I got too old or he got too old for me to keep preaching his
Ask
days.
him if I've been to Abyssinian yet.
and so let me tell you, we are broadcast. Yes, he has. Case in point, we are broadcasting live from the Abyssinian Missionary Baptist Church in the windy city of Whitehaven.
You
Memphis.
forgot something. Black Thought comes on weekdays at 10 a.m. MUTV1, the first black-owned television station in the city of Memphis.
That's right. And we getting all of these formalities out the way. In fact, this is a follow-up conversation from the same group of people who panelized on Black Thought about a week ago. Matter of fact, it was exactly a week ago.
A couple weeks ago.
It's been that long?
Yeah.
That's right, because last week.
Count 1, 2.
I can't count. You said I can't count. So yeah, a couple weeks ago we started this off. We're going to continue it, but we got a hot topic today, G.
Yes, sir. Yep. Black Superman.
Yeah.
And what is it? I think the title is Black Superman and Tough Love. We're going to deal with Obama's commencement speech at Morehouse. And this, of course, integrate itself into other issues as far as black leadership is concerned and how we respect or disrespect black leadership and also the content of their messages. So we want to jump right into it. If you're not privy to his speech, you can check it out on YouTube in its entirety. I think it's about 32 and a half minutes long. But Earl and I were talking about, in essence, it's been on Facebook everywhere. A lot of black scholars are up in arms. Some of them are up in arms, thinking that he kind of took it too far when he was speaking in a condescending tone to the Morehouse graduation class of 2013. I'm kind of in agreement with them because I think that wasn't the correct audience to do that with, because normally when you think of Morehouse, it's one of the Ivy League HBCUs, one of the Ivy Leagues of the South in general, and you would think that those students and their parents don't necessarily need that type of chastising from this man. Also, you have to look at the fact that President Obama, every time he speaks, whether it's a black caucus or any time a black church, when he's on the campaign trail, he'll give us this fatherly speech as if we need to hear this. But he doesn't normally do that. He doesn't ever do this at white commencements. And most of us have been to several commencements. I've participated in 2 or 3, and actually, as a faculty member in 5 or 6. And you never see white people talk to their audience like that. And the problems that Obama mentions when you're looking at relationship equity, when you're looking at whatever manhood may be and those roles thereof or the nuances thereof, you don't see other races talking to their people like that as if they need that type of scolding. So we want to jump right into it, guys, about this. First of all, let's deal with a closed-ended question. Was it appropriate or inappropriate, yes or no, as far as his telling that we need to stand up and be men to our families?
And that the racism doesn't really matter. Nobody wants to hear about that. Nobody cares about this, and nobody cares about that.
That's strange because he won based on that. Yeah. White guilt and black
What do you
privilege.
think, Jay?
Very interesting. I guess if it's a yes and a no, I think it was no, it was not appropriate. And I find it interesting that, as you said, he doesn't go to the white colleges or white groups anywhere and preach to them that your excuses are unnecessary and don't matter either. When you say, I couldn't get this admitted into this college because a black man got
or any minority.
Yeah, a minority got this scholarship. Yeah. Or my taxes are paying for sister girl to get food stamps. Those excuses seem to be somehow unnoticeable or justified versus, whoever else excuses. And two, my thing about this excuse thing too, and the reason it's unnecessary is because if you're gonna preach that, you need to preach to people. Not to listen to anyone who will accept your excuse, because I think that's more damaging than thinking, than having to tell somebody ain't nobody gonna listen to you. Don't nobody take your excuse. People who listen to your excuses and who accept them do more damage than folk that, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So think about things a little differently, but you don't. And the reason you don't, I say the reason he didn't is because he did what he came there to do. He had these black people in the audience, but he was really speaking to another audience.
What audience do you think was his target audience?
He's speaking to white folks. The best quote I heard so far on this.
Oh, was he speaking for them?
No, he was speaking to them, trying to say I'm okay. Still, he still got to prove he's safe and he okay. I
don't have Negro favoritism.
Yeah, I ain't gonna do nothing in this last term to upset nobody. And I ain't got no tricks up my sleeve.
You said there was a favorite quote that was out there.
That I heard so far was Dr. Borswalk has actually said this. When Obama speaks to us, he speaks to us as if we work for him. But when he speaks to white folk, he speaks like he worked for them. You know what I'm saying? He treats us like we work for him, and he treats them like he's working for them. Like they're his boss, but he's our boss. You know what I'm saying?
Hutch, we do a lot. Matter of fact, the president's platform is often called the bully pulpit, right? And part of our responsibility as ministers is oftentimes to chastise or reprimand or try to use some type of corrective speech to curb any negative behavior. In that regard, from the pastor as what Andre Johnson would call theologian in chief, do you think he had some leeway with his statements?
Let me take a different tack with this. If I would answer your question, I couldn't answer it in yes or no. I'd say mixed. Because first of all, you already know that he's going to come from this perspective. So it's an open secret. You already know that you're going to hear some of this in the speech, because his platform as the first black president, in his mindset, is wider than just coming to the school and doing the commencement.
So he's not looking at this at Morehouse.
He's looking at Morehouse.
Okay.
Be clear, because I not only watched the speech, but I read the speech. Right. You can Google it, type. I got mine from the Wall Street Journal. There are other places that have the full transcript of the speech. So when I went back and read it, it was clear that whoever wrote the speech for him, and most times he does a lot of his own writing because he's intelligent like that. Did the background to connect with the audience, the references to Morehouse, the historical references, all of that, and then the references to people out in the audience. Right. Now, the parts that are problematic, I feel, are not necessarily problematic because of the speech. Okay. I think that people have problems with it because of the things that he hasn't done in their viewpoint, and they've taken the speech as an occasion to say, how can you browbeat us when you have not done A, B, C, D, E, F, G? Because the speech in of itself, and if you go back and watch it and see the reaction of the people that are there, they're so, one, proud that he's there. Right. Two, proud that he looks like them. Right. Three, even with the little things in there, and I agree, he didn't have to be as heavy-handed with it as he was, but they were so proud that he was talking to them.
He could have said whatever he wanted.
So
he got an amen.
Yeah, well, I won't go that far, but the pride was there. So, but I do understand the critique. Right. But my point is, I think the critique is more toward what people feel that he hasn't done. For example, I said to somebody today, you might have seen it today. I said, it's not that I don't have problems with him. I probably have less problems than some of the pundits. And when I say problems, I mean things that I disagree with. For example, how is it that George Bush had more black folk in his cabinet than Barack Obama? I still don't understand that. I need some help with that. So is it because since you are the black president, you don't need black folk in your cabinet? I don't understand that piece, and that's hard for me to wrap my mind around. There are other things I think he did better. I think overall, when you start to do things, I can't pull the name of the book off the top of my head. There's a person that has written snapshots on the last 3 or 4 presidents. And he's given critique on the presidents. His critique of President Obama has been basically, his struggle has been management. His struggle is not ideas. His struggle is not, some of the other things that other presidents struggle over. But since he comes from a certain background in terms of not having to manage something like this, that his issue is management. So that might point to some of the things that folks see. Right. But really, I think it's bigger than the speech. That's my take on it.
And that's exactly it. We all think, I think it's fair for us to say we all think it's bigger than the speech. That's why we're discussing it. So we're about to take a break. Y'all catch us back on YouTube on the second segment of this. If you stream it, then y'all stick in because we're going to keep this dialogue going because it's getting real up in here.
I understand there's a common fraternity creed here at Morehouse. Excuses are tools of the incompetent, used to build bridges to nowhere and monuments of nothingness. Well, we've got no time for excuses. Not because the bitter legacy of slavery and segregation have vanished entirely, they have not. Not because racism and discrimination no longer exist. We know those are still out there. It's just that in today's hyper-connected, hyper-competitive world with millions of young people from China and India and Brazil, many of whom started with a whole lot less than all of you did, all of them entering the global workforce alongside you, nobody is going to give you anything that you have not earned.